Today, I want to talk about the new rides and attractions and other park updates coming to the New England amusement parks in 2020. Some of this information has been known for a while, but other pieces of information were revealed recently at the ACE Great Nor'easter event. The host, Canobie Lake Park, had the most to share. The park star attraction, the Yankee Cannonball, is getting 2 pluses in 2020. The first is an on-ride camera. The location was not shared, but I suspect it will be added at the bottom of the first drop. The second addition is a shaded queue, which will be a welcome addition since it's not uncommon to find this ride's queue full even on weekdays. The shaded queue will actually be part of an all-new games pavilion. One plus that is not going to be added in 2020 is an upgraded braking system. This would be needed to allow the ride to finally run with 2 trains. The park said that upgrading the braking system isn't in the park's plans for an immediate future because they'd rather invest capital in new rides and attractions. The park also confirmed there are no immediate plans to remove the corkscrew. Keen eyes might have noticed some markers by the ride this past year, but the park said that was in order to stake out a potential location for the new train station that was ultimately put behind New Kittyland. The park also confirmed the return of the Rowdy Roosters in 2020. The ride was dismantled during Screamfest and ominously removed from the park's website, so its future was in question. The park was unsure if it would be ready for opening day, but it's nice to have a confirmation the Roosters will fly again this year. Speaking of Screamfest, the park is looking into adding a 6th haunt due to the popularity of the event. They're unsure of the theme or location at this time, but it's an exciting development since the park does a really good job with their haunts. The park is also adding some new escape room concepts for the 2020 season. The park already had a few escape rooms over by the Mine of Lost Souls, and while I've never done them, I've heard they're pretty good. The park is also revisiting their menu for 2020. The park specifically wants to make the food memorable and part of the entertainment experience. For the past 2 years, Canobie has had a tribute show to Bruno Mars. This year, that show is being replaced by a tribute show to the Jonas Brothers. This will be on the Midway stage across from the Yankee Cannonball. In addition, they also plan to continue their tribute to Taylor Swift show for the 2020 season. For Screamfest, they plan to have a tribute show to Freddie Mercury. Over at the Castaway Island Water Park, Canobie said they plan to have the Swimming with Mermaids upcharge continuing this year. They tested out at the end of last year and it had great popularity, so they plan to expand this offering this year. For season passes, 2020 is the first year Canobie is offering them. And as such, they're going to add benefits as we go. One of the ones they specifically mentioned was pass holders will be the first to ride new rides when they're added to the park. The park was also asked if they ever plan to have a winter event, and Canobie said not currently. However, it is something they'll consider in the long-term future. What's holding them back currently is the park's infrastructure that was originally designed just for the summer season. Any new additions are being winterized, but it's going to be a long process to get the park ready to open in freezing conditions. Six Flags New England didn't have too much to share, but it was confirmed that Holiday in the Park will be returning for the 4th year. The park said with any new event, it takes a few years to build up interest in it. And I'm glad the park is giving this another go because they've had some really crummy weather the past few years during the event. But it's a really fun event with some beautiful lights, and it's great being able to ride some of these attractions in winter. And of course, the big new addition for Six Flags New England in 2020 is Supergirl. This Zamperla endeavor will replace Kryptonite. This land previously was home to Nightwing, and having a ride like this in Superman's Spaghetti Bowl will look fantastic. Moving on to Funtown USA, the most exciting development is some track work being done on Excalibur. The track work is being done by the Gravity Group, and there are 2 changes being made. The first is they're smoothing out the bottom of the first drop. If you rode Excalibur last year, you knew there was a pretty bad pothole in this location, so I'm glad they're doing some work here. The second is they're actually increasing the banking on turn 4. This is the low to the ground turn after the first turnaround. This was by far the roughest part of the ride, so I'm glad this will be smoothed out, and I'm also interested to see just how steep the banking is made. Another cool thing with Excalibur this year is you can enter a contest to become an honorary knight on Excalibur. For anyone who's unfamiliar, the side of Excalibur's train has the names of knights mentioned. If you win this contest, you can put your name on the side of the train, and you also get a season pass so you can see it all year long. The park is also participating in the Coasting for Kids event on Sunday, June 7th. During this event, you get to support a great charity and give kids the world while also getting ERT on Excalibur and Wild Mouse. I for one had planned to be there and hope to see others there as well. Last but not least, the park is upgrading their bumper boats for 2020. They're going to replace their old gas boats with electric boats. Not only will it be more pleasant for the riders not breathing in those fumes, but the boats are also going to have water guns on them. This will allow you to get absolutely soaked on hot days. They also said that they want to get blasters on the side of the ride for non-riders to get into the fun too. The biggest new addition for 2020 at Lake Compounce is the Venus Vortex water slide. The only bit of new information that was shared is that this water slide will have 3-person tubes. I found that kind of a peculiar amount of riders for each tube, but hey, it's more than 2, I guess. But as a coaster enthusiast, the biggest news for me is that the park is hoping to have 2 trains running on Boulder Dash this year on busy days. I honestly can't remember the last time I saw Boulder Dash run 2 trains, and it's no secret the park's attempts to run 2 trains have ended disastrously the past few years. However, I'm glad the park is trying to make a commitment to get this thing running with 2 trains in the busy days because it's definitely needed. In terms of track work, the park said Boulder Dash is getting some extra steel bracing on the far turn and new wood in one section, but most of the retracking budget has gone towards Wildcat yet again. This year, Wildcat is having the south fan turn retracked. It's no secret the ride got rougher after the retracking, but maybe this time it'll be done correctly on Wildcat. The park also said they want to start retroactively retheming some of their old rides and attractions, and that will start in 2020 with some new sawmill theming on the log flume. I'm really interested to see how this turns out, and if it's well received, I'd love to see this extend to more rides in the future. Ghost Hunt is getting some new targets in the mirror room. This was an awkward part of the ride where there was nothing to shoot at, so I'm glad this is being upgraded. The work done to Ghost Hunt in the past few years has been nothing short of amazing. This went from a shooter where none of the effects worked to now being one of the better rides in the park and a pretty good shooter overall. Last but not least, the park is adding the main gate creamery as you walk in. I believe this is replacing the old water gun game. Now, the one odd part is that this creamery will have lactose-free ice cream, but I guess we'll see how it turns out. And while not in New England, the Great Escape came and gave some information on the park. The biggest thing coming in 2020 is the Adirondack Outlaw. Some new information was shared about the ride, namely that it will have a 50-inch height requirement, a 1.5-minute cycle, and the ride will be located in the open area between the Steamin' Demon and Condor. If you were following along, you know this ride had some issues with the locals protesting its original location at the far end of Ghost Town, so I'm glad the park was able to find a spot that will allow the ride to be visible from Route 9, while not being so visible that it can be seen from Lake George. Both the park's water rides will be getting additions in 2020. Raging River will be getting a new lift. Desperado Plunge will be getting some work done to the animatronics so they'll actually work again. They're also getting some smaller work done on the trough, lifts, and pumps. Last but not least, Blizzard is having its dome painted. Blizzard is one of my favorite scramblers out there because of how fast it's run, and so I'm glad this ride's getting some love for the 2020 season. And while they weren't at Great Nor'easter, Quassy is also adding a new for 2020 ride, but it's a bit of a strange addition. They're replacing their old pirate ship with a new one from SBF Visa called Tidal Wave. Now this new pirate ship is the exact same size and same capacity as the old one, so I'm guessing the old one might have had some maintenance issues. And that brings us to Edaville, and more specifically, what on earth is the status with Curse Splash? This E&F Miler water coaster was relocated from the Washington Fair, and it has been fully assembled for the past few years, but there has been no activity by this site. The ride looks completely abandoned in the corner of Edaville, and there's no references to it on the park's website or map. The only way you know it's there is when the train passes by it. I'm sort of pessimistic this ride will ever open based off of how it looks, but I hope I'm wrong. So while the 2020 season may not bring any big additions to the New England region, it's great to see all these parks making incremental improvements to improve the guest experience. I hope to see you at the parks in 2020, and I know I'll be there.